All right, just gonna wait for the click. Gotta wait for that click. There's the click. All right, now I know I'm actually on. Good morning, everybody. It is April 22nd, 2025. I am Donovan Sadiq, as you guys know, because you're on my page, but I'm also known as the Recovering Democrat, and locally I'm known as the IE Informer. I've been telling on these people's asses since 2016 or something like that. So, good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's having a great day. Lot of stuff going on. Well, it's kind of slowed down lately, so I'm just trying to kill some time here. I have been basically in my backyard preparing and repairing my drip system that Benny has been messing up. And no, it's not cold here. It's not cold. It's starting to warm up. We are going into the summer months here. I live in the desert. For those of you guys that don't know, Riverside, California, Moreno Valley. We are about 60 miles east of Los Angeles. So that's like the beginning of the desert. So it gets pretty hot out here. Sometimes triple digits, not consistently, but we do get average. We're in the low 90s averagely. On an average, the mid to low 90s. And great flying weather, a lot of great stuff. Again, we had our air show last weekend. Great success, enjoyed it, sat in my backyard, watched from my backyard and enjoyed it. Just really sat back there and just kind of kicked it. But, as a homeowner, as you guys know, as homeowners, one of the this is what I'm not saying I hate being a homeowner, but the hype, I just don't get the hype. I really don't, because if you don't have a mechanical skill or basic knowledge of mechanics, you're gonna have to pay somebody to do the repairs on your house. And then, and it's not that I don't want to do anything. It's just that I notice that the older I'm getting, I don't want to do them. Okay? Yes, I could pay somebody to do it. However, I don't have a job to go to. I don't have things, I have to, like dedicate myself to. So I have nothing but time to do what I need to do. And unfortunately, when you're retired, everything is tomorrow. You could do everything tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes, then you put it off for tomorrow, and you put it off tomorrow again, then you put it off tomorrow again. So then eventually it catches up to you. Then you got to start paying the piper. And so one of the things I don't like to do is get caught with my pants down, technically. And yeah, so I've got to do touch up on some painting. I've got to, just do stuff that's going to, and you guys are aware, that are going to maintain the house. And unfortunately, I see a lot of young people that get homes. And when I say young, it's funny that when I say young, when I talk about young, people that are in their 40s are young to me. 30s, they're young to me. They're like, you might as well be a teenager as far as I'm concerned. But I see people that get homes, and because they're so busy working, they're not maintaining the homes, and the homes are falling apart. And unfortunately, these homes that are built on the new code of the United States building codes, these homes aren't made to last. That's why, how many of you guys remember growing up, there was no such thing as a Lowe's. There was no such thing as a Home Depot. You might have had an Ace Hardware mom and pop operation, but basically homes were built to last. Thus, if we go to the original 13 colonies, some of the homes that were built almost 300 years ago are still standing today. You go to New York into some of the boroughs. Some of those brownstones in those neighborhoods are over 100 years old. They're made with real wood. They're made to last. But these new homes, because of corporate greed and everything, they fall apart within 5 years. And if you don't have the skills to maintain them, you're not going to maintain them. I like a good example is this. I went to Lowe's, because Lowe's has a military discount, right? I go to Lowe's, and my siding on my home needed to be repaired, right? and they had siding at Lowe's, and a lot of the siding was like that particle siding that you can put on your house. And of course, if you put it on your house, you're gonna have to do it again in 6 years. Six something like that years. And so I'm looking at all the siding at Lowe's, and nothing was quality. And those of us that aren't into the stucco situation, the prison stucco look, my house has a more Victorian look. It looks more, with the siding and the American Victorian look, whatever you want to call that. So I have stucco on my house, but it has Victorian look. And I was looking at it, and I went to Home Depot. I looked at their siding, and I just said, nah, this ain't gonna get it, because with the siding, you also have to take into account where you live. So those of you guys that live back east and down south, you guys deal with like termites and stuff like that. And so dealing with siding, I said, I do not, at the age I was when I think my siding's been on the house for 7 years now, 7 or 8 years. And knowing I was getting older, I'm going to be older by the time the siding would need to be changed, I said, I don't want to go through that, right? So I'm calculating time and effort versus my age. So there was no siding that I saw that was worth my buying at these these places. So I had to go to a mom and pop like contracted store, and out in Beaumont, past Beaumont. It's really past Beaumont. What city is that? Anyway, it's past Beaumont where I live, and Beaumont. It's past Beaumont, California, and I did my research, and the best wood to use is redwood. And if you look at some of the houses on the East Coast that were built 200 to 300 years ago, the structure of the house was built with redwood, trees. Why redwood trees? There is something in the redwood that repels insects, termites, and all kinds of stuff. So it's a structurally good piece of wood. And though I paid a lot of money more for the redwood siding that I got at my the place that I got it from, I don't have to worry about like termites. And we do have termites out here. My neighbors get it too. Yeah, cedar. Yeah, cedar as well. Yeah, and the cedar tree. And see, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying I'm like a home expert, but if you don't do your homework, you don't know this stuff. But I was smart enough to know that what they're selling at Lowe's and Home Depot, that was some cheap shit. I mean, why are we putting on stuff that should be on the house forever? And I've traveled, and I've been to the East Coast, and I'm looking at these homes that have been standing for 100 and something years, and I'm like, wait a minute. What the hell's going on here? These homes are standing, and yet these homes are getting ate up by these, insects and stuff. Yeah, no rot, Monroe, and bugs. Yeah, and so, yes, I spent more money. I spent more money getting the redwood siding, but it is saving me, man, going out there. The only thing I really look is when I look at my siding, I look to make sure that it, and it doesn't even really warp, but I just look to check because everything's so cheap. I look to check if the boards are warping and they don't warp. And when I first got the redwood siding, I didn't put anything on it, other than the clear stain, the clear protective thing on it. And when I did that, the natural red came out, and my house looked like a cabin. It was beautiful to me, but I said, well, I don't want my house to look like a cabin, right? So I went and I painted it with a redwood stain on it, natural stain. And it looks beautiful. It hasn't bent up. And, the only thing I've got to deal with is like touching up where like you got like maybe some chipped, paint that's come off and, whatever, because the paint is damn cheap. Everything you buy now for home repair is so damn cheap. And I get it. It's a money grabbing thing, but every time I think I have a little extra money, I don't. But I can say, because I'm investing in the quality, and my house was based on the code prior to the code that they have now, right? So basically, like if I wanted to get a Tesla, they would have to do a major overhaul on my circuit breaker. They'd have to just break that whole thing down and do a whole rewiring because my house is on the old uh, um, codes. My house was built in 1980. 1980, the house was built, and this is my mom. My mom bought this home uh, in 1980. You know, it was our first. Well, not our first home, but uh, my mom, you know, legacy home or whatever you want to call it. And I was stationed at the base here, so it just made sense that I take the home over and, you know, do what I got to do. And after renting it out and renters destroying it, I just got sick of hearing of, you know, about that happening. And when I got stationed back in the area, I came back in and, you know, upgraded the house and did everything that I could do. And I'm kind of really blessed because I'm enjoying my what do you call that, legacy now. You know, I'm enjoying the legacy now. I'm enjoying what my parents, my mom, would have left me, hopefully, uh, in her will if she had passed or whatever. You know what I mean. So I'm very thankful for that. And to me, it kind of makes sense. Well, it doesn't make sense, but I'm just saying, why is it that we wait until we are gone to think everything that we worked for, our kids are going to take it and enjoy it? 9 times out of 10, when a person, Big Mama, passes away or somebody passes away, what the children or the grandchildren do with the property is they sell it because they're living their own dreams. And, you know, it's unfortunate. And I think it was kind of smart and really good of my mom to allow me to come in and enjoy the legacy that she left for myself and my brother. Well, thank good there's only me and my brother and I, because I can only imagine if there was like 5 or 6 of us and everybody's fighting for a piece of the pie. But it made me think that that's the move to make. You know, those of us that are retired and we have children, you know, why are we waiting until we're dead to give our children the legacy? Why don't we give our children the legacy, if they're mature enough to handle it, while we're alive and we can see them enjoy it? Or we practice group economics and we bring everybody together. I look at a lot of young people now, and they're in their 20s and their 30s, and they're struggling. And technically, they're still living at home. A lot of them are still living at home, right? So, you know, what would help these kids in the modern age? You know, we can't keep going off of what happened back in the day where, you know, hey, I could get a high school diploma, get a good job, provide for my family, raise a family, and do a lot. You know, we can't live off of that anymore. These kids can't do that anymore. They're staying in with their parents for an extended amount of time. So, and I always hear a lot of my friends that have these PlayStation kids that are, you know, sons that are sitting in their basements and, you know, they're just not doing anything, right? And I always tell them, well, why don't you move out? You know, since these kids, all they do is go to work and come back, and they keep saving and saving and saving money for $1 million house that they probably will never, ever have the percentage that they need to put down for the house, because in the meantime they're having children and they're bringing their girlfriend or their wife into the home and all that other. I said, why don't you move out and just let them go ahead and you know, make the payments and teach them how to be responsible that way. And that way you kind of nurture them to do that, and it kind of helps them at the same time. You know, so that when they do decide, hey, I don't want to be here, I want to go get my own home now, that they can do that. You know, we have to find new and innovative ways to help our young people without hurting them. And, you know, I always look at the fact that if I wasn't able to enjoy the legacy my mom left me early, would I be making it? I would probably have to get another job. I would probably really have to get another job. I probably would. But because she left me the legacy here, uh, I can say the property value has gone up. I've invested in, you know what I mean. I learned to do those things that I needed to do. It's more, I mean, we don't teach our kids that. It's more to live into a home than just say I own a home. You've got to be able to maintain the house to keep the value up, or even increase the value of the home. Those of you guys that have been to my home know that I have my Zen garden, my Zen desert garden in the back. Yeah, Stony, I'm telling you, people go to my backyard and they're like, "Whoa, oh my gosh, whatever." And because I live in the desert, I'm smart enough to know water is a premium out here, and I don't want to be paying to maintain a grass yard that is almost impossible to maintain. I would be fighting a losing battle with climate change, right? And a lot of people in my neighborhood are starting to go to desert landscaping. But I was also smart enough to know, hey, I could do a drip system where and another great thing, I don't have to water the yard. The Wi-Fi does it, and it's all automated. Sometimes I'll get on my phone and I'll, water it because I want to water something or whatever. But you got to be strategic thinking in how you do these things. If, like right now, my home, it's just me. Um, I'm not saying I don't want to be here, but it's, why, if I had, I've got two sons, but I got boys, so they kind of go do their thing. But I think about that all the time. It's like, it's not that I want to downsize, because I don't want to downsize, and I don't want to sell. I always tell people, stop selling your properties. Stop selling. Do not sell. And here in LA, you had a lot of black people when they built that stadium, the SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. When they built that stadium, they gentrified the area. Of course, started that. The developer comes in there, littler, pennies on the dollar. They buy people out. People were selling their homes there. I remember in the 90s when that started, people were getting, $180,000, $250,000. Early 2000s, some people were getting 350 if they sold as they were building, the SoFi thing. And some people, now those homes in that area are in excess of $1.3 million. And these are like 2-bedroom stamp homes. You know what I mean? The ones you see in like the movie Boys in the Hood. $1.3 million minimum. All about location. And these people, because they didn't know financial responsibility or didn't give a damn about Big Mama's home, they just sold it and said, hey, and you think about it, they'd never seen money like that. And if you think about the start of the black homelessness in LA, look at what I just said, from the early 90s, of the start of the gentrification, which was in the early 90s, to where we're at today. Notice that the homeless situation kind of escalated during that time. But yeah, I was smart enough to know, I'm in the desert, it's hot out here. I'm going to put fruit trees. Stoney, I don't even understand this. How do you own a home and not have some type of fruit-based plant to feed yourself? Just, I'm not saying you got to put a whole bunch like I did, but like a palm tree, a plum tree, an orange tree, something in case the zombie apocalypse happens. And in my case, it actually happened, right? The pandemic happened and people were just freaking out. But I every year, matter of fact, I should be out there right now, plucking those grapefruit off my tree, pink grapefruit. I love pink grapefruit. Plucking those off the tree and giving those to the homeless, in the neighborhood. But I've got apples, oranges, cherries, Asian pears, plums. I mean, you name it, it's back there. So, I don't really buy fruits anymore, so that saves me money there. Um, but, I like going in my backyard to kind of sit and chill, and I could watch the planes from the base fly and from the airport that's about 25, 30 miles away from me. I could see the planes flying over the mountains and doing what they're doing. And it's just something, I guess it's something from living in Asia where you could just sit back there and decompress, and and even though I'm in the desert and I've got a lot of rocks, why do I have to just have rocks? I could make a tropical thing, banana trees back there, and I got palm trees back there, and it looks so tropical as you walk through it and stuff. And you got to maintain it, And I've been doing that, but yeah, summer's coming here, and the bad thing about it is, here in the desert, if you do not get ahead of the summer and you try to work in that summer heat at my age or in age older, good luck. You're looking at possibly deleting yourself out there, having a heat stroke. I mean, just that quick. I mean, you got to get out there early in the morning or in the evening to do any kind of work. Anything during the day, you're wasting your time. But we do have a lot of sunlight, right? So, Stony, another thing that I do is I utilize the sunlight, and I use solar panels, and I use the attic fans. I've got two attic fans, solar attic fans that vent the heat out of the attic. They just vent it out. And I got one, electrical thermostat one. So basically 3 attic fans. And so my house doesn't really get super, super hot. Because, you again, you got to think these things out. And, I don't know, and I'm not saying everybody's like that, but when I'm talking about the younger people, I don't know what planet these guys are on. It's like there's no forward thinking. And I get it if you're in survival mode and every day you have to fight to pay your rent, pay your bills, do this, do that. I get that aspect. But if you're going to invest in a home, this is what I don't understand. You're investing in a home. Most people's wealth is in their home and the equity you could pull out of that home. For the life of me, I do not understand how you could get a home and it just goes into disrepair. You could always tell a renter because, at least in my experience, you can tell a renter because the yard is never cut compared to the other neighbors. You could always tell a renter, to me, a renter always stands out because they do not put the work into the home. They usually rely on the landlord or they just don't give a damn, right? Stoney says, plus you have the trees that provide shade for house, which lowers electric costs. Yeah, exactly. But the unfortunate thing is in the desert because we have clay and we have like really bad soil because of the earthquakes. You can't really put a tree near your home because you don't want the tree to fall into your house, because of the earthquakes. But yeah, but around the house, and you bring up a good point. Now that I think about it, when you look at these neighborhoods, as they remove the trees, and there's nothing but concrete, the neighborhood is hotter. So people should be planting more trees and stuff. And we have a place in Riverside known as Magnolia Avenue, and they had nothing but trees down. If you walk down there, it was nothing but shade because the trees were so dense. But of course, we're in a litigious state, and everybody wants to sue. So if a branch happens to fall on your car, you want to sue the city. You want to do this, and so they started removing the trees, and then the heat just takes over. But yeah, you bring up a good point. I don't have a lot of, because I've got trees. It keeps the area really, really cool, and it doesn't really get too hot. At least in my area, I live at the bottom of the cul-de-sac, so I have more of a V shape in my yard. It goes kind of like this. And so it's a bigger yard compared to the rest of my neighbors, but people are putting in pools and stuff. And, California, because we're in a drought situation, you can only fill your pool up once a year at a certain rate. And then if you drain it and you fill it up again, they hit you hard. I mean, it's just crazy. I remember at one time living in California used to mean something, and it just, I don't know what happened. Now you live in California, people feel sorry for you, you know. Yeah, Stony says, I just remember watching you plant some of your trees a few years ago, and that's a great idea, specifically fruit trees. Yeah, I mean, you know, I for some reason I was at Lowe's or someplace, and think about it. You go to Lowe's, or I think Home Depot has it too. You have a year. If the plant doesn't take and it dies, you didn't lose anything. You just take it back. Either they refund your money or you just replace the tree. So you know, I just threw that stuff back there, and I mean, uh, the bad thing I could say about the fruit trees is, uh, if you're not a farmer or got a farming attitude, you got to stay on top of those fruits, man. Because and then when they fall, you better pick them up because then the end, you know, the gnats and stuff, and you really got to stay on top of it, which is not a problem. Uh, it's just you know what you're in for. Usually for me, because of the homeless situation here, uh, I usually do it because I know I'm going to give most of the fruit away. And how rich are you when you could give away uh, fruits like that? Just give them away. Fruits are if you go to the stores, you know, fruits are fairly expensive. You can just give them away. So you have to be a rich person when you can give away fruits like that people really do appreciate. You know, my neighbors come to me all the time and say, "Hey, have your lemon tree came in yet? Has this come in yet?" And I'm like, "No, but I'll get you one of my peach tree. That super huge tree that's in the corner of my backyard, that's a peach tree. A lot of people don't know that. It is super huge and has a big canopy, a bunch of leaves when it comes in. Yeah, people are like, "Hey, is your peach tree coming in?" And I have a peach tree right by my mailbox. And oh my God, those were the sweetest peaches when they come in. Oh my God, those are good. Those are good. And of course, I got the pomegranates. Oh, people love. Oh, when the pomegranates come in, I can't keep people from knocking on my door. So again, I'm not like you know downing home ownership, but if I had really a choice in the matter, uh, yeah, either I would want to bring my kids in so they can save. Well, my boys are self-sufficient. I'm not worried about that, but I would really want to uh, practice group economics with my family so that they can get a leg up. Like I said, if my mom hadn't given me my legacy early, um, what's the biggest problem with our economic system right now when it comes to people living every day? People are spending 50% or more of their paycheck on rent. I don't think I would survive in something like that. If that was the case and my mom didn't have a home, I would go live overseas. I'd be gone. I would be gone from here. But looking at young people, I think that's just unfair. And I know we want our kids to stand up on their own 2 feet and do what they got to do. And, I did it myself and I could do all these great things. That isn't the case. We have rigged the game against our kids. And I'm not making excuses for them. I'm just saying the game has been rigged against these kids so badly that when a person is paying more than 50% of their paycheck on rent, they're not going to make it. There's no way you're going to make it, at least not by themselves. They're not going to make it by themselves. So I would wholeheartedly ask you guys to reevaluate and rethink. I got this cat over here, Thailand, and he is... What are you doing? What are you doing? Get out of here. My Siamese cat. Thailand. Come here. Come here, man. Come here. Come here. He's feeling a little frisky. Get out of here. Get out of here. Anyway. Thailand. Anyway. He was sick for a couple of days. I guess he feels better now. But I would strongly recommend you guys practice group economics with your children and your grandchildren. If you can. I mean, if you want to do that. All right, buddy. See you later, Stoney. But I would strongly recommend you guys practice group economics with your children and your grandchildren, and possibly look at since you're the one that's retired or you're the one that's already got your situation situated, renting to your children, keeping the money in the family, group economics. That's what other cultures are doing. I mean, why would you allow your children to pay $2,500 to live in an apartment when you could take that same $2,500 and save it as a group? We have to come up with new and innovative ways to survive. Just something to think about, you guys. I want to say happy anniversary to my good friend Richard and Letta. 19 years of marriage, and they are going strong. Congratulations. Well-deserved 20th anniversary. I can't wait to see what you guys are going to do for your 20th. That's going to be a big thing. Almost unheard of in the modern era for people of our generation and the younger generations to be married that long. We have a lot of friends of ours that have been married for a long time, and that's great. But in general, it's almost unheard of nowadays. Unfortunately, relationships don't last, and that's the way it is. But yeah, Leda and Richard, they go together like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. So anyway, getting ready to go do this thing. Don't want to be on this thing too long. Just something for you guys to think about. Think about giving your children, if they're mature enough, because we know we've got some kids out here that are just, we ruin them. But the ones that can handle it, give them their legacy early. Why wait until you're gone? Practice group economics with your children. Why not? Bring the family in together and pool your money together. We need to pool our money together. What can you guys do if everybody's pooling their money together? Some of you guys have properties that are so big you could build apartment homes and stuff on the property. So if you really can't live in the same space, you can do whatever. If I had it my way, I would build a little spot out in my backyard somewhere on the side of the house there, just a little cottage for me to live in, and let my children live in the home. It's just things like that, you guys. It's something to think about. These tariffs, I've talked to people, and nobody's been affected yet. Not yet. The supply chain. Ask yourself this, thinking about it. China holds most of the United States debt. Do you think that this is a Donald Trump government way to weaken the Chinese economy so that, we could kind of be a deadbeat and not pay that debt as much? Because if you've been looking at the trades, our debt is becoming a national security threat to the United States. We are paying almost more on the interest on our debt than we are the actual debt. So do you think that this is a way Donald Trump is trying to forego the debt that we owe China by weakening their markets? Because right now, who's getting hurt more? China. I know people are saying, oh, it's going to hurt me, whatever the deal is. Well, right now, what we should be doing as a people, we should be thinking of ways to take that market that China has and manufacture it here, right? Logically, you would think. I don't know. That's what I would be doing. The chain market of the hair industry, maybe directly link up with somebody in Korea, ladies, that have the wigs and stuff, and directly ship it here directly, and that way you break the chain and the monopoly of the beauty industry that the